On July 25, 1991, Michael Landon died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 54. To millions of Americans, he was more than an actor. He was the embodiment of family, hope, and moral clarity on television. Yet, the public rarely saw the private struggles that shaped him. In a final televised interview, Landon confronted mortality with grace, saying simply, "I may win or lose. I accept either." His calm acceptance stunned viewers who had only known him as the warm, reliable father figure on screen. Understanding Michael Landon requires looking beyond the roles he played, into the personal battles, pressures, and emotional fractures that inform both his art and his life. Early life, foundations of resilience. Michael Landon was born Eugene Maurice Orowitz in 1936, into a household marked by tension and instability. His father, Eli Orowitz, was a man with gentle intentions but little authority, whose erratic career and inconsistent presence left young Michael searching for stability. His mother, Peggy O'Neill, once a hopeful performer herself, carried bitterness and expressed it through subtle forms of control and humiliation. In this environment, Landon learned quickly to navigate emotional turbulence. Silence became his refuge, imagination, his escape. He envisioned a self-reliant version of himself, capable of controlling his own destiny. These early experiences, though painful, cultivated resilience, drive, and a lifelong need to prove his worth, qualities that would later define both his successes and his struggles. Bullying and early challenges. Landon's childhood was compounded by bullying in the community and school. Growing up with Jewish heritage in communities that could be unforgiving, he became a repeated target. These experiences, however, did not break him. They hardened his resolve. By observing weakness in his father and unpredictability in his mother, he internalized the importance of self-discipline and control. Physical pursuits became an outlet, a space where effort and talent produced measurable results. In javelin throwing, he discovered a rare sense of order. Discipline, repetition, and focus became both therapy and training, laying the groundwork for the unshakable persistence that later defined his career. Early adversity in Landon's life was a forge rather than a cage, athletic ambitions and setbacks. Landon's discipline led him to a scholarship at the University of Southern California, offering a path out of instability. Athletics provided him with a tangible measure of achievement, a world where effort translated into results. Yet even this success was not untroubled. At USC, he faced refined forms of bullying and isolation, and a severe training injury abruptly ended his Olympic aspirations. The arm that had once been a symbol of his power became a limitation, leaving a void in both his identity and future plans. This setback marked a turning point. Landon would learn that life required persistence even when opportunity faltered, and that survival depended on relentless self-reliance and a commitment to proving one's worth through action rather than expectation. Early work and lessons in discipline. After leaving college, Landon entered the workforce with no protective network. He took jobs that demanded endurance and responsibility. Babysitting, soup factories, and ribbon factories became his training ground. These roles were repetitive, nameless, and humble, but they instilled discipline and resilience. Through long hours and strict routines, he learned the quiet strength of accountability and self-reliance. Each task, no matter how small, became a lesson in persistence and focus. This period shaped his understanding of work ethic and responsibility, traits that would later inform his approach to acting, producing, and directing. Landon's early work experience, though mundane, provided the foundation for a career built on consistency, attention to detail, and the drive to prove himself. Entering television, Bonanza, and recognition. Landon's breakthrough came with Bonanza, where he emerged as both a familiar television face and a beloved cultural figure. He brought authenticity, warmth, and moral clarity to his portrayal of Little Joe Cartwright, captivating audiences nationwide. While the show projected stability, his off-screen life required navigating relentless schedules, pressure to perform, and the personal discipline he had cultivated over decades. Landon's ability to merge vulnerability with control made him a compelling figure on television. Yet even as he ascended professionally, he remained conscious of the personal cost. The intensity of the work and public scrutiny demanded constant attention to image, behavior, and success, echoing lessons learned in his early years of struggle. Marriage and personal stability. In 1963, Landon married Marjorie Lynn Noe, a woman outside the entertainment industry who offered quiet stability. Unlike figures in his past, she did not demand guidance or correction, but provided a foundation upon which he could build a family life free from constant evaluation. Their marriage coincided with the peak of Bonanza, adding pressure alongside opportunity. Yet Marjorie represented a chance to experience ordinary life, counterbalancing the chaos of fame. Through this relationship, Landon sought the balance he had long missed in childhood: love, structure, and family, without the constant need to prove himself. It offered him a rare, stabilizing anchor amid the relentless demands of a television career. The duality of fame and pressure. Even as Landon became the moral center of American television, he carried an inner tension. His public persona projected warmth, hope, and integrity, but privately, he battled fear of failure, need for control, and personal losses. Landon's drive for perfection often clashed with the fragility of his own family dynamics. Stories that healed audiences existed alongside fractured relationships and unresolved personal pain. Success demanded not only talent but an immense emotional labor, balancing the idealized image of fatherhood and morality on screen with the private, relentless pressure to maintain control. Landon's journey illustrates the complexity behind public admiration, the cost of embodying ideals that were not always mirrored in reality. Confronting mortality. In his final months, Michael Landon faced death with the same discipline and calm he had cultivated throughout life. In interviews, he accepted the outcome of his illness without self-pity, offering a glimpse of the inner fortitude that had guided him since childhood. This moment revealed what audiences rarely saw: the deep fractures beneath a composed exterior. Landon's confrontation with mortality was not the start of his struggles, but a culmination, visible to the public for the first time. The grace with which he faced death reflected a lifetime of resilience, discipline, and self-reliance, qualities shaped by adversity and honed through decades of personal and professional challenges. Legacy, light and shadow. Michael Landon is remembered as a television icon whose work inspired millions. Yet his life story underscores the complexity behind that legacy. Extraordinary talent paired with intense personal pressures, public affection alongside private turbulence. He endured and created because he had learned early that survival required strength, focus, and self-discipline. His narrative is not only about the warmth and idealism he brought to the screen, but also about the personal costs of sustaining that image. Landon's story encourages reflection. The brightest public figures often carry unseen burdens, and the courage to maintain integrity and vulnerability in the face of challenges is an achievement as profound as any role portrayed on screen. Conclusion: remembering the whole man. To remember Michael Landon is to honor both the warmth and the complexity he embodied. He was a man whose early struggles forged resilience, whose discipline allowed him to shape a career that touched millions, and whose humanity contained both light and shadow. The stories he shared on screen were informed by a lifetime of navigating tension, loss, and self-reliance. As viewers, we are invited not only to appreciate his performances, but to consider the depth behind the persona. A man who transformed personal adversity into enduring art, who confronted life and death with equal courage, and whose legacy reminds us of the unseen journeys behind every public triumph.